Alright, so Sinistry is going to show you the best way to make a high life setup. So this is for people who want to learn how to make their own setups instead of just copying setups like 99% of high life players. So the first thing you want to do is find the length of your lines. So here's some to choose from. After you find the length of your lines, pick a turn. I recommend normal blind if you don't have shiny blind. I'm going to pick two 0.8 lines since it's the most consistent with shiny blind turns. So after you have your turns and lines sorted out like this, you need to make a resetter line. I recommend the one in the video, which is made by a player named Josh RL. So now we do the upgraders. To find the best possible upgraders for your lines, you need to figure out how many units you have in your setup. Since this setup is two 0.8 lines, we just do 49 plus 49 units, and then add another 12 because that's how many spare units we have in the resetter line, and that equals 110 units. After you figure out how many units long your setup is going to be, go to reahs multiplier per unit sheet, the link will be in the description, and just go from top to bottom until you have 110 units worth of upgraders. When choosing upgraders to use, only try to use upgraders from the orange tier and higher on the spreadsheet. Before you start placing upgraders in the lines, put a middle platform either 19 or 20 units away from the dragon cannon. Do 19 units if you want quantum clockwork to hit both the top and the bottom beam for max multiplier, and make sure to put it backwards. Note that with a 19 unit middle plat, the ore has a chance to hit the platform and fling away. Get a mine and get constant ores and then start filling in the lines with upgraders. Another thing to note is that you should put a middle plat in both lines because it makes it a lot easier to hit all the beams on Swag City and hit Vulcan's Wrath. Another important thing is to make sure that the amount of upgraders you have fit your lines. An easy way to check this is to place them in the lines and then see if there's any extra units. Also, always put Utopian Refiner at the end of your setup before the eval line if you're using it to maximize the multiplier. After you've done all of that, your setup should be nearly done. All that's left is to add a pre-line if you're using one, and portables. Also, make sure that every portable that you have is hitting and placed down. There's a list of all the portables at the bottom of reahs spreadsheet.
Big fungus, big fungus, big fungus. 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 Fungus, big fungus, fungus, big fungus, fungus, big fungus, fungus, big fungus. Big fungus, big 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 fungus, big fungus. Fungus, big fungus, fungus, big fungus, fungus, big fungus, fungus, big fungus. Big fungus.
Also, make sure to lower your ore limit. I recommend 10 because Midas Blaster explosions are delayed with a lot of ores and it will basically ruin your setup. Now it's time for some tips. If your setup doesn't make enough money, just extend the lines and add more upgraders. If you make well over infinite, you should try shortening one of the lines. Another tip is that item count is huge, so try using as little platforms as possible, as well as not using many dreamer items if you don't have to. And the last thing is that the more setups you make, the easier it will be. Just remember that you're not going to learn how to build setups if you just leech off of others.